Hello everyone, this is Afsar Ali. So in this video tutorial, we're gonna see how we can serialize a complex JSON response. For example, I have a website, iflex.com. If you see, there is one API is being used in this uh, in this website. So there is something called movies, and for other as well, there are some API used. So if we see the response of that API, that if I just go to this network and just refresh it, and I should see that API. Okay, here it should be. Okay, so if you see here, there is some API called IPX API gateway something, and this is part of movie. Okay, so within that we have different categories like a drama, we have fantasy. So same thing is present here. All right, if you see action, Chinese, comedy, crime, documentary, drama, fantasy, Filipino. So these all are all the movies present within this section. Okay, like the number of movies present within that, and all the information about those movies you can see within that section. In the current content we have called item. Within the drama you can see within the assets total 25 movies present within the items. You can see the movie name. Okay, so this is a complex JSON response. So we are gonna parse this. We're gonna do serialize, and we'll create one Pojo class, plain Java object or something. Okay, so what I'll do, I'll just copy this link, copy link address, and I just open the same link, so it doesn't require any basic authorization or something because this API is public, so I can access that endpoint as well. So if I go to here, and I can see this is a very complex API response. Okay, so we'll see how we can create a Pojo class for this response, and our aim is, if I give a crime, I'll create one function. If I give this crime as an argument, and that should return me all the list of movies present within that, and I'll create another function that will give me all the movies present within this whole movie section, or particularly by that API, right? So this is what we are gonna do in this section. Let me just copy this URL, and I'll just create another one project, Maven project. If I go to here, new Maven project, and next, and I'll just create a name, and I click on finish. There should be a Maven JSON Serialize tutorial, and I got the src main Java, src test Java. What I'll do, I'll just remove this. Maybe I'll create another package. Okay, so remove this, and I'll just create a package called com.json.java. mm, okay, I can say something called, so this is my package, finished. And okay, so the first of all, what we need to create is, we need to create one model of page. So it will contain all the information or Pojo classes. Okay, object. Each object will be one class. Okay, so what we can do here, I'll just create one class called movie details. Okay, movie details model. Say something like that. Movie model. Okay, the next step that we gonna do is just create Pojo classes within this. Okay, so what we can do, I use one plugin for parsing the JSON in my browser, so that's why it's showing like this. We can also install one plugin. So what I can do, I'll just copy everything, and I need to I can create uh, Pojo classes online as well, or I need to, otherwise I can just manually do, so that will take a long time. So what I can do, JSON to Pojo online. Okay, so I'll use this one. So what I'll do, the class name, whatever the class name I provided over here, I'll just copy this, paste over here, and here whole JSON file I need to provide. Control C, Control B, submit. So then I should see the Pojo class. So this is the object, okay, the Pojo classes of this JSON response. So let's understand why this many class is being created by this Pojo or online. So if you go to this parsed one, and if I go here, you can see now it's only one item, and you see if it is in bracket, that means JSON object, and for each JSON object we need to create one class first of all. Okay, and the second one is here also the data. So the data is the object. Okay, so we need to create one class for data. Another, if I just uh, expand, you can get another object, page by URL. So it should be another class, and within that class, and these are the variables, and within that page by URL class, I need to create another object because there is another JSON here. Okay, so there would be another one called content class. Okay, and within the content also we have two more objects, so there is two more class we need to create. Okay, and this count would be a variable within this content, and this item is a JSON array. So JSON array would be a list of object, class object. Okay, so whenever this is a JSON array, then it will be a list of class object. Okay, if I expand that, so I don't have to go each of them, only I have to go the first one. Okay, if I go to the first one also, you will see ID title. So same thing, items, the content also, right? Content also you see here, uh, there is item, and that is a array, or we can create is a list. Okay, instead of array we can create a list of this item is a class. Okay, so here you'll see those item class, assets, items. So there is two items here. You can see there is item here. This is the list of class object, and within that we have another assets. Within the asset we have another item. Okay, so this item we can rename this one in our Pojo class to some different, okay, asset items or something like that. So this all class is being created, so we don't have to do anything. We don't have to create this manually. So what I can do is I'll just copy paste from here one by one. Okay, if I go to my this model, movie details model, and just copy paste, and I don't need this one, overwrite. Okay, similarly I need to do for data. Okay, because the second one is the data. So for data, everything I need to just copy from here, and the data. And similarly, I don't need this override. Okay, and then we need page by URL because we have page by URL object. So the same thing, I just copy everything from here. Page by URL. So guys, this video gonna be a little longer, so bear with me. So similarly, you can check in here the null tracking bundle is null. So within this page by URL, if you see page by URL, there are something called tracking bundle is null. So we don't need it because our goal is to get the list of movies based on the section name or all the movies. So this all information we might not need. Okay, so I can remove it, or maybe I can just put it as some object or something. Okay, so for now what I can do, I can just remove this. So if I am removing the variable, so I need to remove the getter setter as well. Okay, so removed that. And the next one is here, I need to create content class. So the content class as well. Okay, within the one class, I have just created classes, inner classes, you can say. Okay, and I'll remove this. And in here, you'll see we have items as array, but I need it as list, array list. Okay, so yeah, and in here should be the array list, getter, and the setters. And this one also the list of class object. And here, why this error? Because we haven't created yet the items class. So next one is to create item. Okay, so if I go here, next one is the asset page info. There is items. I can say add this item. Okay, so the item I got it from here. And just remove this. but make sure this item is the correct one. How you'll know this is the correct one, correct item? You'll see in here within the content we have item, ID, title, okay, assets, header. This thing should be present in here. Asset type name header, header desktop, ID page title, ID page title. So this is the one. Okay, so in here we don't need this header. It's null. Header desktop also we don't need it, or maybe we can just put as a object there. And I don't need this header desktop. Get a setter for this one also. Okay, so the next one is we need to create the assets object or page also. Page, if you see within the page URL is there, there is type name. So you can create a page, or if you don't want to create a page class separately, what we can do, just go to here. Instead of class, just put the object. You don't have to create the separate class for this page. Okay, so if I go to here page and getter setter also, I need to provide this object instead of the page class. Okay, and the next one we have is assets. Okay, so now the assets, there are two assets, uh, type, total count, item. So this item, these assets. Okay, the first assets. Okay, this first asset, I can have a class for that. This is the one I need, and assets, and I'll remove the override one. Okay, so these items also I'll just put as the list instead of the array. Sorry, list. And the remaining thing is as is. Here also it should be the list of items. Okay, so now the next thing, now we got this asset class and the item class, asset class, and within this asset class we have total count and items. Okay, items is a JSON array, right? If it is a JSON array, it's a list of class. Okay, so that means we need to create a class of items. Within this, you can see I just created a list of, within the asset we have created a list of items. So these items we have somewhere, where is that item class? We have already one item. Okay, so this is a different item, I believe, because yeah, this item is different than this. So we need to rename this one because we already have items here. So this item, let's see asset items. Okay, so what I can do within these assets, I just name it as this class name. I can just name as assets item. Okay, and here also assets item getter setter. Okay, so that's it. And I need to create the asset item. So this asset item, this items class we need to create. So we have another items here. If you see, this is the one which has assets, header, page, title, okay, title, page, ID. That's it. Oh no, I think this is not the one. This item. Yeah, this is the published art ID BG name. You can validate that. Within the item, we have title, ID, tiers, type, image, BG image, published art. This is the one. This items. Okay, so just copy this and I will rename this the class name as asset items. Asset items, and yeah, and I'll rename this class name as asset item. Okay, so that's it. And what else we need? I think that's it. Within the item, we don't need anything else. So you can see this is 25 items present. Total count is 25. That means 25 movies present within this item. Okay, and the parent item has seven items, 7 sections. You can say comedy, drama, etc. And each drama has movies, right? That is within assets, then items. So a little bit complex, but we'll make it simple. So let's see in Eclipse what all thing that we need or what we don't need. If we don't need something, then we can just remove that. Within the data, we need data class, that is fine. And page by URL, we need this all, that's fine. And what else? Page info. Well, I don't have to create another class for page info, because if you see page info is object, so I had to create another another class for this, but I don't want to create it because we don't need this information in detail. Okay, so in that case we can just provide object here so that our error will be gone. And same thing here, page info is object, the getter setter object. Then next is items. Within the item we have a page as object, and then assets, we have assets. Within assets we have a list of assets, and I can see here image within asset items, that is the last hierarchy. Okay, so this one also object, bg image, this thing you can see in here. Within this asset we have something called image, bg image, and yeah, image, background image, tires. These are this will be as object. All right, so that means we have to create another class for this, but we don't need this information. Okay, if we need this information like URL, this thing, we can create another class for each of them. But in our case we need title, ID, okay, that type, then publish that, this thing. So these are the important thing. This pg image, these are not that important, so in that case we'll just not create another class for those. We'll just create just say it's object. All right, so similarly, and getter setter also I need to say set, this is object, and if I go down, same for bg image, background image. Okay, so now my all error gone. Fine, now I can see everything is cool. The next thing that I need to do is I'll create a movie detail controller, another class, movies detail controller. Here I'll create a method to I'll read the response and I'll assign each value to these objects. All right. Then I can create one utility to utils. So in here, what I'll be doing is I'll create a function public static void um, get API response. So basically how we'll get this response is we need to create a get response. Okay, using Java, we need to use get call to this endpoint. Okay, to do so uh, and in the form of JSON, right? So this one will return me get a response, something like that I can say. And here, if I just provide string URL endpoint, fine. And this one, this should return me a JSON object. Okay, so for that, we need to write some logic, the Java logic. Okay, so let's do it. So I have created one method which will return me the JSON object. Okay, so basically what it will do is it will try to get uh, from that URL. Okay, once we get the response using buffer reader, and we'll read that line each response, and that response we are parsing using JSON parser. So for that we need to add one uh, we need to add one more you can say a dependency. Okay, so the dependency you can get it from here. Ambient repository, I can say JSON simple. So this is the one I need to import, and this is from the first one, the Google code dot JSON simple, and I need to use this copy and paste over here. Fine. So it will download that dependency in your POM file. So format it. Now error is gone. All right. So now what we have done is we are using JSON parser from org.json.simple parser JSON parser, and this one will parse whatever the response we got, the result to string, so in a string format, and that string now is parsed to JSON. Okay, so let's test it whether this is working fine or not. Just create one main class here and get API method as it is a static one. What I can do, I'll just need to pass the URL. So the same URL, whatever you're using, I'll just pass it here. And it says it throws some exception. That's cool. And let's print it. Okay, so I can print the JSON response to JSON string, because it's as a JSON, it will return the JSON object, and I need to convert it to JSON string. If I run it, I should see the same response. It's a big response. Okay, so now we are good with this one. The next thing that we need to create is we need to create a method public static void get movies detail object. So basically, if call, I need to write something, okay, I need to uh, serialize this all the JSON response to the model that we created over here, movie details model, right? So this thing we need to do. The first of all, what I can do, let's call the sorry, uh, let's call utils dot get. Um, okay, so this utils. Okay, I think it's a spelling mistake. Let me just correct it. Utils. Okay, so now I have utils class. Okay, now I should see get API response, and within that I can say this is my response, and it definitely will throw an exception. Let's do that. Okay, so now I can say JSON object because the response type is object. Okay, so I can say this is my response and just import this JSON object. Fine. So now what I can do, I just create one object for movies detail. Movies details model. Okay, movies detail obj object to new some movie detail, new movie detail object. Okay, so now I got the sorry object of this model. The next thing that we need to do, if I go in here, I'll see one by one. First thing is this object I need to get from that response, I need to get the data. Okay, this response dot get, and I'll be getting the data, and this is one object, right? JSON object. So this is my JSON object. Maybe I can say data. Fine, and this is need to cast it as a JSON object. So I got now data. From data, what I need is I need dot get object. I need page by URL. Page by URL. Okay, this is also object, JSON object. Page by URL and cast it similar way. And the next one that we have is page by URL dot get object. Okay, so the next one that we have is, okay, so you can see it, within the page by URL we have title tracking bundle, and content detail. These are the information that we can get it and pass to this object class, this page by URL class. We have one class already created for that. So what we can do is be- because it is the inner class, I can say page by URL. Okay, page by URL object equal to new, not new. So we need to just create like this way. This object dot new, okay, and page by URL. So this is how we create the object if that class is present within another class. Okay, so this is my super class. This is within that we have another class. Okay, so we got this information already and page by URL. So what I need within this page by URL, I need a title, get title, and similarly I can get all the information. First title, next is tracking bundle, so we don't need that. Let's see, sorry, URL. Then we have content, maybe content, yeah, content. And we have another one. So content, I'll put the last. We have another one is something called type username here. Okay, so these are things that we got. So next thing, what we can do, we need to put whatever value we got from here, we need to associate with the object. Okay, with for the page by URL class, what I can do, we need to set, we have already set method, set title to string. Okay, similarly do for others. Dot set URL, and this is also string type, so we need to convert to string because object. Okay, so the next one is till here we are clear now. Now the next most important thing, content. So if you see in this content is another object. Okay, so this content is object. So what we need to do is we need to get the content as a object. Okay, so I can say content object. Okay, so JSON object content equal to this object, cast it. So once we got the content object, so this whole object I got now. Okay, the next step we need to do is get the value of total count, item, and type name. Okay, similarly content dot get object, I'll get the page info, copy paste, total count, items will write the last one, total, then item. Okay, so we have items within this content, right? So now we got this information. So this all information we need to associate with the content page, content class objects, right? So we need to create another object for that particular class. Just copy these and paste, and instead of page by URL, just put content object, and in here also content. Okay, so now you got the content object. So if you go here and just put it content dot set and page info, if you see page info is object type, so we don't have to worry about, we don't have to convert it to string. And the second one is count dot set count, page total count, and this is a string type, so we need to convert it to string. All right, and this is also the string type, certain type. So you can just put the string. And the next thing is items. So this is something different. All right, this is JSON array. So how to handle that? Let's keep it here. Okay, so what we can do, can say JSON array. Okay, items array. Fine, and just put it here, this array. Okay, so now the important thing is we need to do for loop, because we see within the item we have this many informations. Okay, so we need to do looping each of them. So for that we need to use for loop, and I equal to 0, I less than item array dot size, sorry, I plus plus. So this one will iterate through each of them. Okay, so now what I got is array dot get index of I. So if I put a 0, that means the first. So I'm not going through all, I'll just open only one, because I, when I equal to 0, this is means the first. Okay, first one. So what we can do here, get I. Okay, once I get I, so this will return me one object, because if you see, this is one object. All right, so for this we have, this is a JSON object. So what I can do, JSON object, I need to cast it, and here also. Something wrong, maybe. Okay, so what I can do, just 1 second, I'll do one thing, item array dot, okay, now I got this, the JSON object. Okay, this is my JSON object now. Cool. And I can say like this and get object. So here I parsed this one. Okay, so whatever information, whatever the first item we got, I need to parse this JSON object. Then I need to get the value of the ID. Similarly, I need to do for others. Just copy, paste, ID, title. Okay. So we got all information, ID, title, page, asset, header. Because header we don't need, and this desktop, remember we just deleted it initially, so we don't need this informations. So this all are required. So what next, we need to add this information to our movie detail models. Okay, so this all information present within these items. Okay, so what I can do, I'll just create another, similarly another object, items. Okay, here I can say items obj. Okay, so this is okay. So you can see here, this is not only one object, all right, because the item has a list of object, right? So in that case, what we need to do is, we don't have to uh, create here the object, we need to create within the for loop. Okay, so what I can do, I'll just need to initialize that here within the for loop, items object. Okay, so this is most important thing that you need to do, because it's a list of items, so you need to instantiate each time, each for loop, right? So this is the one, first one, dot set set id. Set id, this is also string type. Okay, so to string, and items object dot set title. Set title, this is also string type. To string. Okay, so we done with this, and if you see the last one we have is assets. Okay, so the next thing we just need to this is another JSON object. We need to create things for these assets. All right, this is a little bit complex here. So before that, we need to do one more thing. The thing is, we created a new objects here, and we are iterating through each of them, but we are not storing those objects somewhere, because we need to add the list of objects. Okay, the list of objects, the list of item objects to the content page, because these items is belong to this content. And if you see content model, okay, content class, if you go and see the content class, we have a list of items, okay, which will contain, bind that item, this items to here. So the important thing that we need to do is, we need to create a list and store each object, one object, two object, so all object we need to store. So to do that, what we can do is go to here. I need to create here the list. Okay, so here model dot, sorry, I can get this models item, items, yes, models item, items list object, okay, equal to new array list. and just import this util and just put this value here instead of e. It's a generic type. Okay, so now we got this, and this list of object, what it will do, it will store here dot sorry, add item. So you need to add this new object. So each for loop, it will create a new object and that will be added. Okay. So what is the error here? Items. Okay, so this is item object. All right. So this should be fine. Okay. And the next thing we need to work on this. So this is a little bit complex. And what we can do now, we are here. All right. Within this drama, and now this is we are going to do with the assets. Okay, so now what I can do, get assets, I got the JSON object, of assets, I'll cast it another JSON object. Okay, so once we need to get the information of total count and type name, etc. So what I can do, similarly, dot get object key here, and the first one is total count. Similarly, we have type name, and also we have items. All right. So now we need to update this information into the into this class. All right, this assets class. So just create another class here. Okay. Not maybe dot assets, right? Assets. I don't have to create here, I think. And assets object. Object. All right. So now if you see here, I need to get the class and assign those value over here. All right. So how we can do that? So I need this asset object to be initialized here. All right. Asset object equals same way I need to do movie details object dot new assets. Okay, so I got the new object and just set this value, set total count to string and other thing. Okay, so till now we got this, and this is most important items. Again, we have another JSON array. Okay, so for JSON array, we need to create list of the class. All right, list of the class. So this is most important step. So what I can do, this one is JSON array. I can see we renamed this one, right? Remember? So what I uh, rename is assets item list. Okay. List. Yeah. And I can say this need to cast it as JSON array. And within that, if it is JSON array, we need to use for loop. All right. So int j equal to 0, j less than asset item list dot size j plus plus. Okay, cool. Now we got the asset item. This is asset item for now. So just forget about the items. This is asset item. And within that we have 25 details. So we don't have to go to each of them. Just open only one because the same format would be for others as well. Okay, so now what we need to do is we need to get the informations, title, ID, this, right? This is the last step. So what I can do, same thing, dot get of j, and this one will return us JSON object, JSON object. Okay, so I got the JSON object. Now dot get. Okay, now I'll be getting the title, and I can just copy paste same thing multiple time for others. Here we go the ID and the tiers and the type, image. I don't know whether we deleted or not those image and bg image. I think we created as an object or something like that. Publish that, and I need another one called type name. All right, so now we got all the information over here. So we need to create another class. All right, so asset item, we can define here similar way. What I can do, this one, asset items, object equals within here I say equals new this class, sorry, dot new asset items. Okay, so now I got the asset items object, and I need to set those value. Set the title, first one is title to string. Similarly, we need to do for others. Okay, this is done for all the available values, title, ID, bg, this all. Okay, so now as we know, we have, sorry. Okay, as we know, we have, this is the list of things, all right? So what we can do, we need to create that list, right? In here, need to create another list of this one asset items. All right. Similarly, that we did for assets. All right. So I can say asset items list equals new array list. All right. So now this new array list is being created. All right. So what I can do, new array list, and this array list here, sorry, dot add, and for adding here, what we need to add is this object, asset list object. All right. Because here you can see this is asset item, asset item list we need to add into the assets. All right, so asset item list first I added over here. Once we add all the things here, the next step would be outside of the for loop. All right, outside of the for loop we need to add this all list, into assets. Okay, the assets. So if we see assets class, maybe I can see this asset object. Okay, so it here I say assets dot set. You can see that we have a set items, asset list item. All right, so in here what I need, this same asset item list. All right, so now this all items now is being tied up to the assets. Okay, so now the next thing, this asset item now to be part of, because this is also list, right? These items need to be part of this content item list. So once we got the item list, now we have this item list. Now we need the content object. I think the content object. Now we got the content object. So we added this thing here already. Content object dot set. We can see we have list items. Okay, so within this list item, we need to add this item list object, because if you see this item list, we need to add in content. Okay, so now we are till here. Content is fine. All right, so now the next step that we have is, after content is done, page object URL. Sorry, what else we have within this? Set content. Okay, this content object. So whatever we got this content object, this object also need to be associated with the page by URL, page by URL object. Okay, so this content object now we added here. Then as this is another object, we need to add this to data. All right, this object need to be added to the data. So if you see, we have a data node, we don't have a data. So we can create data object dot data object. Okay, so now I got the data object dot set page by URL object. So this object now associated to here. Okay, now data object is done. So now data object also is part of our movie content, movie details model object. All right, so if you see this movie details model object, all right, movie details model object, this is the outer class, and within that we have data. We have set data, get data. So I got this information already and set data object. So now we are done. Okay, I think there is something wrong here. So we need to do this thing outside of this for loop. Okay, so till here is fine. Let me just check. Okay, so if you see this, this asset item list is part of this for loop within this. So this is fine. And this item object is part of, okay, it should be outside of the for loop. Okay, so that means this all information should be outside of that for loop. Okay, this should be here. One second, let me check. So if we see here, this item object is present within the for loop. All right, within this for loop. So that means this item list should be present within that for loop. So I need to remove from here. I need to put here. All right. So this is the one, and other thing should be present outside of that for loop. This content detail and all. Okay. Format. Now I should be able to visualize this one. Okay. And once we get the item list object, this items list object, we are setting it to the content object. Then content object is to page by URL object, page by URL object. Then page by URL object is into data object, and the data object is finally is movie detail object. So now I can return from here the movie detail object. All right. So I can set the return type as the movie detail object. So now the whole object is being returned from here. Okay. So we can test as well whether this is working fine or not. All right. So what we can do, main. I'll just create one main method so that we can just run this particular method. Okay. Dot get. You can see how easy it is. Get data. Get page by URL. Get. You can say I can go to anywhere. Get content maybe. Dot get list of items. I can go to the list of items. Dot get of 0. First item only I need. Get. I can go to assets as well, and asset item list dot get 0. So we can see how much information we can get. Now I get the title. Okay, so I got this title and I want to print that the title. Okay, so that means the first item, first asset, and this one's title. So I should get this one hopefully, and this is throw exception. Okay, so here I remove that one. So we are getting get contain, then get items of 0, contain, then get items of the 0 means first one, and I'm trying to get this title. Should be drama. Okay, if I run this, I should get drama. Okay, 1. And similarly, if I just put second item, I should get fantasy. If I get a 3, I can get Hindi. Okay, so this is how we can get all the information because we have this method. So now our use case is we need to maybe I can just create one class here. Within this, maybe I can just create a runner class or test class or something like that. So maybe runner. Okay, so in this we have some scenarios. Get movies, get a list of movies for specified or specific section, like drama, fantasy, etc. So if I just provide the drama or fantasy, that will return me the list of the movies present. To get list of all movies. And third one, maybe I'll just get movie ID by providing movie name. Okay, so these are my use case. So if I give this movie name is within this items. If I give this title, it will give me this ID, the last one. And the first one is, it will, if I give this drama, then it will return me 25 titles. We all cry differently. This one, so only the titles, list of titles in a string format. And this one is list of all the movies in all the sections, right? So this is what we'll be doing. Okay, so I created one method, get all movies. Okay, so within that one, I need to call movies detail controller. The method that we already created, this method we need to call and get a movies object. Okay, so what I do, I just call this movie controller dot get movie details, and I saved into this object, movie object, and within that movie object, I'm just getting the data, get page URL. So get page URL, a page by URL, then get content. So this get content and within this get content I get items. So this get item will return the list of items. So I'm just saving that as a list of items. So after got this list of item, so this whole list of items, I'm just looping through each of them. Okay, for loop. I'm just doing for loop of them. So that means I have this item, one item dot get. You can say we have assets, we have title, we have ID, type name. So let's just print title of the items. Okay, this items title, this title. It will print this drama, then it will print fantasy, the list of all. Okay, just syso system.print.ln. Then within that, I'm just writing here and I'm calling this whole method in here. So it will print all the section name. All right, so let's just run it. So it will take a little bit time, but you can see I got the list of all the sections of all the items. Okay, so now similarly, my aim is not only get the titles, I want all the movies present, all the movies, right? So what I need to do next, I need to go to the assets. Okay, so within this, I need to go to assets within this for loop, all right? Because it is present within this, inside this each items. Get, I can say, what is that? Get asset items, okay? And get asset item dot, because get assets, within these assets, we have items. Get assets, get items. Okay, so this is the list. Again, this is the list of these items. These all items, 25 items. Okay, so what I can do, I can just save into some list. Just put a string. It's not a string, so I want auto correction. Items, list of items, and this will auto correct me, change. Okay, so now I got the asset items, list of asset item. So okay, now within the asset item, we got the titles, we got the okay, so within that, to get that, we need a for loop. Okay, there is another for loop, item, list of asset items. So now I got the item dot get. Now you can see I have access to all the method present within this title, ID, tiers, everything. So I can say get the title. Okay, I can print those title as well. Okay, I'll see this one. Okay, guys, so here if you see, we are now items, get assets, and get asset items. Within this, again, we are looping through. Asset item means this is the inner items, and I'm getting the title only. So I'm just trying to print this title. Okay, so let's see, I'm just calling this method. So I'm getting a null pointer exception because I missed something, okay, in the movies detail controller. So if you see, I'm actually missed this particular thing here, item object set assets. So we forgot to associate asset object with the items object. Okay, so items object that should be associated with the assets. So these assets should be associated with the item object. So make sure you associate all the objects, otherwise you'll get null pointer exception. So now, okay, so if I remove that and comment this, and if I try to run this, I should get all the list of movies. Okay, so the first one is C, Dua, Garis, Biru, something. Yeah, I got this. So this is Word, and I wanted to get the list of uh, movies. So what I can do, just list of string all movie equal to new. Ah, what I can do, let it like this, and okay, I can just initialize here as well, new array list. Okay, so once I have this method, what I can do within this for loop, add an item that get titles. So I can get the, I can get rid of this. Now I added this already to this array, and in here I can just return this array. Okay, the list. So now if I try to, if I'll call this method get all movies, and it should give me, maybe I can just print this. Let's see what happens. If I print this, I should get the list of strings. All right. So if I call this, I got the array. All right. Similarly, you can create list of all movies we done, a list of movie for specific section as well. So for that, just copy and paste the same thing, and here I can say get all movies for some section, and here just put that section name. Okay, once you get the section name, so in here what I can say, the section name should be, you can say, within the item and the title. This is the section name, that is the title. Okay, within the item. So I have this item. I can say item dot get title contains, if that contains section name, whatever we pass from there, if, okay, then we want to do something, then I can say here. Okay, so now I should, if that matches, if title get title that matches with the section name, suppose I provided drama, then it should print only drama. So let's see how this can help you. And I will provide here drama, and let's print this. So all the movie present in the drama. Okay, and maybe I can just say fantasy. If I provide a fantasy, I should be able to get all the movie, which Duyung or something. I can check that as well. The first one, Duyung. So that is absolutely correct, right? So this is how you can get the list, and we can similarly we can just get the ID. So basically, just need to provide here instead of content name, you can just movie name, and within this here you need to write if items dot get title contain whatever you pass that movie name, then here return item dot get uh, ID. Okay, so that will give you the ID of that particular movie. Okay, similarly we can use that. So that's it for this video. Hope this will be very helpful for you. See you in the next video.